This is KGW News at 11.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. We begin with developing news tonight. A family in Battleground is going to bed without a father and husband. A Clark County deputy unintentionally shot and killed an off-duty officer while trying to take in an armed robbery suspect. Within just the last hour, we finally heard from authorities on what led up to the tragic mistake. Galen Etlin tells us what happened.
Southwest Washington mourns Vancouver police officer Donald Sahota. The 52-year-old was shot and killed in his Battleground home Sunday by a Clark County deputy by accident. The Lower Columbia Major Crimes Team is investigating. It started here at the Orchards Chevron on Northeast 4th Plain Boulevard. Investigators say a man robbed a clerk at gunpoint, then took off in a stolen car. Authorities chased him north, and eventually the man ditched the car and went door to door trying to hide in a remote wooded area of Battleground. LCMC says the man ended up outside Officer Sahota's home off of this road, and the two got into a fight. Sahota ended up with some stab wounds. The man then ran toward the house, and Sahota picked up his gun. That's when deputies arrived, and one fired several shots with a rifle, unknowingly hitting Officer Sahota and not the robbery suspect. Sahota died, and the unidentified suspect was taken into custody. Vancouver's mayor put out a statement saying, "It will likely be days before we know more. I hope the community will hold Officer Sahota's family and our law enforcement community in our thoughts and hearts." Sahota served Vancouver PD since April 2014, and before that worked for Gresham and Port of Portland Police. Gresham PD put out a statement saying Sahota worked there for nearly 14 years and was a, quote, kind and thoughtful person, someone we will always remember for his tenacious work ethic and commitment to bringing justice to victims and their families. Sahota leaves behind a wife and 2 children. Galen Etlin, KGW News.
A homeowner shot and injured an alleged armed robber in Rainier early this morning. Police say the suspect broke in and the two exchanged gunfire. Officers were called to West C Street just south of the Columbia River Highway early this morning on reports of a burglary in process. The preliminary investigation shows the suspect was shot by the homeowner after the two exchanged fire. Officers were able to detain the suspect, who was transported to the hospital and treated for their injuries. A local food pantry is without their one and only food delivery truck. It was stolen from a Beaverton church, and now members are trying to figure out how to feed those in need.
We serve anyone that needs to be served, the homeless, those that don't make enough money to live.
St. Vincent de Paul runs a food pantry out of St. Cecilia's Church. They've been providing food to local pantries in the area for the past 27 years. That's all until last Sunday. A security camera caught the moment people broke into the church's office to steal keys. Then the truck was gone.
So we are suspending night pickups for a few weeks until we figure out how best we can go forward.
They now rent a van, which isn't cheap for the strictly donor-run organization. So if you spot that yellow box truck with the St. Vincent de Paul logo on the side, please contact Beaverton's Police Department. Lawmakers in Washington are racing to fix a police reform law that backfired on some of the state's most vulnerable residents. Last year, Democrats in Olympia passed reform legislation that included restrictions on officers' use of force. Law enforcement groups said it would hinder their ability to detain people in mental health crisis. And that turned out to be true. Officers were still needed for certain mental health crises, but they couldn't detain people to determine if they pose a danger to themselves or others. A new bill aims to make it clear an officer can use force to detain people for involuntary treatment or protective custody. All right, let's talk about that forecast now, because changes are on the way after so much sun, Joe. It's time, right?
Exactly right. We saw like a 10-day stretch where we saw practically nothing but sunshine, but of course that east wind kept us a little bit on the cooler side the last couple of days. Now we're ushering in more late January typical weather with some rain and some snow, and there's going to be a lot of snow heading into the Oregon Cascades. As we look at the radar, start to see a little bit of pockets of some dry conditions out there tonight, but here the last 3 or 4 hours we definitely have been seeing some wet conditions throughout the west side of the state. Meanwhile, it's been nothing but snow showers throughout the Oregon Cascades, and that's going to hold true heading into your overnight hours as well. You'll notice through parts of Government Camp, you're going to be looking at several inches of snow, anywhere from 8 to maybe 10 inches of snow. Could be close to a foot of snow right around that 5,000 foot level. That includes, of course, Mount Hood Meadows and Timberline Lodge. That will be the case heading into tonight and into tomorrow, but we also have some cold air that's going to be moving in overnight. So snow levels will start to drop here to down to 1,500 feet. Don't expect to see any accumulation until right around that 2,000 foot level. That includes, places along the foothills of the mountains. There could be some slick roads over the Coast Range as well. Heavy mountain snow overnight and into tomorrow morning. So be aware of that. It's been relatively easy going throughout the mountain passes the last 10 days or so. That's going to be changing tonight and into tomorrow. Of course, as that front moved on shore earlier this afternoon, we saw some of the breezy conditions move through. Gusts right around 20-25 miles per hour here locally. Now those winds are starting to kind of die down just a little bit. And as we look at the rainfall amounts, it's about 1/4 inch of rain along the northern part of the Oregon coast. Here in the valley, about close to 2/10 inch of rain in parts of Portland, about 1/4 inch over in Salem. And heading into tomorrow, Brittany, we're still going to be seeing more scattered showers, but there is another stretch of dry weather heading into the later part of the week. This week, I'll talk more about that in a few minutes.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks so much, Joe. With the cold weather all around yesterday, members of the U.S. Coast Guard sector, Columbia River, supported Special Olympics with the polar plunge in Fort Stevens. Participants jumped in the chilly waters of Coffinbury Lake. Air Station Astoria provided a flyover, and the recruiters from the Vancouver office provided some swag. I love it. Well, hey, a common frustration for Portland drivers could actually get a lot safer. The city is filled with intersections where parked vehicles block the view for drivers trying to cross from one street to another. Right now, if an intersection has a stop sign or yellow strip, it is illegal to park within 6 feet of the sign. But what about intersections without a sign? Well, Portland is prioritizing vision clearance at 350 uncontrolled intersections without a sign or signal. The process is called daylighting. It'll remove parking spaces within 20 feet of an intersection. Even some intersections without a sign may qualify for the same treatment.
Are there other places that could qualify for vision clearance and removal of parking to provide additional vision clearance and daylighting? Sure, absolutely.
The city has a link on their website designated to the whole daylighting process. PBOT still admits it's a balancing act for everyone who uses the road. And another heads up for drivers in Portland. Over the next several days, the St. John's Bridge will close at 10 each night, and it'll stay that way until 5 in the morning. The night closures start tomorrow, and they'll go until Saturday morning. The shutdown is for maintenance and bridge inspections. Pedestrians and bicyclists will still be allowed to use the bridge, but you might see some delays. Flaggers will be there to guide you across. And the last 2 TriMet buses, those are the ones that run at 10:10 and 10:18, they'll also be allowed to cross. Let's turn now to solutions to the pandemic. You might have heard about Remdesivir a little while back. Well, after months of research, doctors found it is effective to fight COVID in hospital settings, and now the FDA has approved it for outpatient use. Tim Gordon reports it's welcome news, but does come with some big challenges.
Omicron carries on, and COVID patients are pushing hospitals to near capacity.
So Remdesivir is a drug that acts to slow down the virus once it gets in the body.
So FDA approval of the antiviral drug Remdesivir as an outpatient treatment is welcome news.
Everything that we can do to try to keep people out of hospitals right now is very important, because that is, I think, the most constrained part of our healthcare system right now is hospital beds and availability in ICUs and ventilators.
Dr. Richard Mularski is a pulmonary and critical care physician and a health research investigator at Kaiser Permanente Northwest. He says the importance of Remdesivir is magnified right now because all but one monoclonal antibody treatment has not worked to fight the Omicron variant. Dr. Mularski has seen Remdesivir work to slow the virus in hospital patients. Now they are identifying the best candidates for outpatient treatment with the drug. Those are patients with suppressed or compromised immune systems. Then the challenge is getting them into a 3-day run of IV treatment within a week of showing COVID symptoms for an antiviral drug that is in short supply.
They have to be given in a observed setting, and so they take healthcare resources, and those are quite limited. So everyone's struggling both with availability of drugs and with being able to get drugs into people's arms.
A challenge of timing and resources in an overloaded healthcare system. Tim Gordon, KGW News.